Welcome back. The African National Congress held a special National Executive Committee or NEC meeting near Pretoria yesterday in order to reclaim its authority amid many challenges facing the party. Now, these issues include protests, deferred conferences, court battles by differing factions to the appointment of a Northwest Premier. That's just to name a few. And ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe joins us now to discuss all of these matters. Thank you so much for coming through, Mr. Mabe.
Morning and morning to the viewers of Morning Live.
Mr. Mabe, let's start with the most obvious thing that happened yesterday, the picketing outside by members of the West Rand region of the African National Congress. What was that about?
Well, there were National Executive Committee members who were sent out to meet with ANC members of the West Rand to listen to their concerns. Having listened to them, members of the West Rand were referred, because these are matters that had to do with their own regional conference, which is supposed to sit. And of course, those issues have been referred to the relevant structures in the province. They would have dispute resolution committees that is led by the PEC together with members of the regional executive committee. So they have been referred there. So they are only supposed to come to the NEC through the National Dispute Resolution Committee if they could not be able to find the sort of solution that they need, or if matters are not resolved at that level, then they could be elevated to that structure.
So were you able to establish whether they actually went through those processes before arriving at Irene?
That's why those matters were sent back to be attended to by those dispute resolution committees set up in the province for that purpose.
Some of the issues that they raised are, of course, not new, and it seems pervasive throughout the country. Issues such as gatekeeping, irregularities in BGMs, etc. So what is the ANC doing about this? Because, as I say, it's not a West Rand issue. It seems to be a national issue.
Well, what is happening, for instance, let's talk about Gauteng. Today, the deployees, the NEC deployees, together with the PEC deployees and all the regions in the province, will have a meeting where they will have to look at all the issues that may hamper or affect the effective running of the regional conferences that are supposed to sit. They will have to first establish if are these regions ready logistically, are they ready in terms of dealing with all their political issues? Will they not have concerns that when the conference is supposed to be running, you'll still have people coming up and saying they were not sufficiently listened to?
Mr. Mabe, feel free to switch off your phone there for us, please. And talking to Pule Mabe, of course, the national spokesperson of the African National Congress, about what came out of the NEC meeting in Irene yesterday. So, Mr. Mabe, one of the other issues that obviously was also center of stage yesterday was the question of the 4 members from the Eastern Cape who took to the courts to try and have a certain report implemented, and I'm talking about the Ndebele appeals report that the ANC itself commissioned, instituted, and then seemed to not follow through on. So what happened there?
Well, Sakina, I wouldn't want to labor much on that because we are still yet to get a detailed report on those. It is only fair that the ANC expresses itself on these issues once it has gotten a fuller brief of what was before the court, what did the court say, and what is the stand and position of the ANC on the matters. I want to just go back briefly because, of course, a ringing phone would have disturbed us trying to clarify what were the issues in Gauteng. What I was saying was that there will be a meeting today of the deployees with the province, the region, and our own NEC deployees to try and deal with holistically look at all the issues that may hamper or affect the sitting of conference, but also look at making sure that the conference sit under very conducive climate, make sure that logistically they are ready, politically they are ready, verification is done, all issues that have got to do with biannual BGMs have been resolved, all disputes that arose have been attended to. So the Secretary General of the ANC did speak to the fact that before we sit conferences, we need to make sure that we have sufficiently addressed all matters of concerns. So that, because you see, there is a new thing now where you have got people who, if they do not feel satisfied out of how processes have been handled internally, end up running to court. Now, you would not want the ANC to be told by courts on how it should be dealing with its own processes. So we try and encourage our members to make sure that they use our own internal processes to be able to deal with their own issues before they look to the courts.
So what sort of time frames are we looking at for the ANC to sort all of that out before going to conference?
You mean in which? In this specific? No, well, they are sitting today. I mean, they will make that determination. They will sit today to look at all these issues that I'm laboring upon, which have got to do with the state of readiness, and make sure that verification is done. For instance, if you go to a conference, there must be a venue. You need to verify, are all these venues ready? Politically, are they ready? They need to have discussion, because they don't just go to a conference to elect leadership. There must be discussion documents. They've got to enter into the policy space and all of that. So you need to look at all of those things. Credentials, have you verified? These people that are going to be participating in the conference, are they members of the ANC in good standing? These BGMs that have said, have we satisfied ourselves through the audit process that we've been thorough in all of that? So that even if someone was to come tomorrow, you are able to prove that you have effectively satisfied all the processes that have got to go with the running of fair and legit conferences.
Well, given what's happened in other provinces, I guess we'll wait and see how things in Gauteng actually play out. But coming back to the Eastern Cape and the Ndebele report and what happened there, quite apart from the court process, this was an ANC initiative. It's an internal commission for the Ndebele task team to go out to the Eastern Cape to establish what happened in that chair of festivals. So why is it then that the ANC did not heed the recommendations of that report?
Well, that's why I'm saying, Sakina, that because, you know, once matters are in court, then this legalistic jargons of sub judice then come into play. You know?
But I'm not getting into that.
Yes.
I just want to know, why did the ANC not heed its own report?
That's why, you see, we have labored on the matters that have got to do with this Ndebele report quite extensively. We had spoken about those in our own statements and all of that. And I think to a point where there was a view out of the National Executive Committee that the officials of the ANC at the national level, together with the province and the comrades who have had concerns in the province, should be able to converge. And out of that convergence, find what you would term a political solution.
I hear all of that, Mr. Mabe. You're still not answering my very simple question.
Yes.
The ANC decides to embark on a certain course of action to get to the bottom of a certain difficulty. You then receive a report, your own report, internally, that has very clear recommendations.
Yes.
Why did the ANC not follow through? Why did the ANC not see the need to follow the recommendations of those who went to the province, spoke to the people on the ground, and came up with a set of recommendations?
Correct. You see, Sakina, and it's not nice to do this to journalists, to ask them maybe there are certain part of the recommendations that you could be aware of, which you believe the ANC has not implemented. So
are you saying then that you have implemented that
report?
No,
what I'm saying is that one of the things that are coming out within the spirit of those recommendations is these engagements that we are now beginning to allude to. So when you are starting to have comrades, cadres, talking at a level of national leadership, going up to the province and making sure that cadres who had concerns are given a fair space to be listened to, you are seen to now be entering the space of seeking a political solution on the matter, and because what is important for the ANC is to make sure that the country over we unite all of our structures, because we have got an election year upon us in 2019. So we should move with speed to make sure that we ease all the tensions, so that all of our members could be able to be focused on the task at hand.
So you see, that's an answer. Are you saying, therefore, that the ANC decided in its wisdom to shelve whatever recommendations there were and to find a political solution to the problem?
Well, I wouldn't want us to get there. You see, Sakina, I'm trying by all means to get you out of that matter, because the National Working Committee is going to reflect upon this. We must accept that these matters were before court yesterday. It is only fair that we give the ANC that space. We will reflect on these issues tomorrow. We have got a special National Working Committee tomorrow. And after that, we'll be able to elaborate more extensively on this and what is the attitude of the ANC going forward on
Let's talk about the Northwest Province.
Yes.
And once again, it seems that you've not been able to come up with, a candidate to take over as Premier of that province.
Well, I can tell you now that we are actually, against what we are saying, we are much more closer to a solution now.
But you still don't have one.
No, we will have one. Actually,
but you still don't have one right now.
One of the things that, even if we did, it would not be announced on Morning Live. One of the things that we had agreed on is that with what we have, we'll have to just do final polishing in the National Working Committee tomorrow. The NEC, in its wisdom, has mandated the NWC to make finality. So that finality is being made tomorrow. So they have said, this is the package. Go and finalize on this package that we're giving you. Don't come back to us with a report. Finalize. So we do know under which conditions we're expected to make that finality. So we're not discussing from just a vacuum. There is a guideline. There is a guideline through which the leadership is supposed to make reflections and decide. It is
at this point a race against time. So when will you be announcing?
I can tell you now that we will announce before the 21 days period. I think what is it that does it? Is it Friday?
Yes.
We would have announced by that time.
So by Friday you would have announced.
What you need to know, Sakina, is that the ANC never outsources its obligation, its responsibility to lead society. When it is expected, but it does make sure that when it takes decisions such as this, it takes all of its structures, including alliance partners, on board. Because it is in the interest of the ANC that the Northwest returns to stability over a long period of time. Because what stability does, it allows us to facilitate the provision of service delivery unhindered. Now, that is what is of great interest to the African National Congress.
Let's go to KZN again. Yes. Long-standing issues there. It's been coming for a while, and we seem to see, again, yesterday there was, over the weekend, as we understand it, the two sides that are differing at this point came to an agreement, and then one of the sides reneged on the agreement to actually go to the regional conference. So what is happening there?
Well, what is happening in KwaZulu-Natal is that I can assure you, without necessarily wanting to zoom into a specific region, just to tell you that from what came out of the National Executive Committee and the work, the good thing is that the Deputy Secretary General, who heads the National Dispute Resolution Committee, was in KwaZulu-Natal over the weekend to make sure that they facilitate what could become a long-lasting solution to some of the ongoing challenges that are there on the ground. Then from the feedback received at the NEC yesterday, you are beginning to get a sense that comrades are converging. And as a matter of fact, they are actually today, they are having, the PTT is sitting this morning at 10 o'clock to try and reflect on the challenges that were there and begin to say, can they still meet the deadline of the 2nd of July and also be able to fulfill the commitment of the return date to court, so that they could be able to labor upon the issues that needed to be addressed, but make sure that those that had concerns, those concerns are firmly addressed, and allow for an environment where a conference could sit. I can tell you now that comrades are united as it relates to that, and work is going on in the background to make sure that you deal with all the concerns and create a balanced mood for conference to sit in that
How do you convince broader society that the ANC is indeed united when all that the broader public sees is dispute after dispute, people, members taking the ANC to court? How do you convince the public that you are a united group?
Well, Sakina, you'll appreciate that the ANC is a big organization. And when problems arise, it is incumbent upon the leadership to also rise to the occasion and find solutions to those. It is going to be left to society to see through the ANC on the kind of solutions that we are implementing to bring our people together. That's why we overemphasize unity, we overemphasize renewal. We do not say when Sakina has got a concern, we must suddenly fire Sakina from the ranks of the ANC. No. We still come and create a space to listen to you. Now, many organizations don't do that. I mean, we can cite the DA in this instance. They don't do that. When they had a problem with Patricia de Lille, for instance, you could see that, no, but here there is no turning back. In the ANC, the very cadres who will go to court, the following day it will be the leadership of the ANC that sit with them. Now, this shows you that we are willing to listen to each other. Now, society can only see through our humane deeds that we are committed to finding solutions to problems. You know, and perhaps to quote one of the late stalwarts of the African National Congress, Walter Sisulu, that solutions are found when problems arise. You know, so that's what the ANC is all about. You know, we find solutions when there are problems.
Mr. Mabe, and we will have to take your word for that.
Yes, and Limpopo as well, they will be going to their own conference as well.
There is so much in the ANC, we will need much more than the few minutes that we've had. But yes, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming through. And of course, we are just coming up to news time. So after this, we'll come back with your latest news bulletin.